Today's presentation is going to be Tim and Laurie Kent, and between them, they have 35 years of fossil hunting experience, and they're going to be telling us the best ways to display all of the great finds that you found on all of our wonderful fossil hunting field trips. And with that, I'm going to let Tim get started.
Okay. If they have questions on Zoom, is that on here?
Yeah, if you have questions on Zoom, feel free to type them in the chat and I will read them out loud for Tim after the presentation. And then at the end of the meeting, we're going to have some in-person activities. So the Zoom meeting will end a little early.
Right.
So, but thank you all for coming.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for having me. Glad you guys could come out. I know it's a lot of people are away on vacations and things like that in the summer. You know, in summertime is always an interesting time, lots of things to do. But I was glad when they asked us to do this, Laurie and I, to do this presentation tonight. I jumped right on it because, as you're about to find out, our house is full of fossils. Okay, I wanted to start out tonight. As Rebecca was saying, we've been hunting fossils, Laurie and I, over 35 years. Back when we were dating back in the 90s, that's what we did for a date. We go out hunt for fossils. We're kind of obsessed about fossils, as you could tell from our shirts. Okay. All right. But anyway, we've collected a lot of fossils in that time. I'm just curious out here in the audience here, how many of you have been hunting fossils at least 10 years? 10 years? Anybody 20 or more? Okay, 20, 30. Okay, we're getting up there. All right. Well, that's if you've been hunting that long, you know you probably have a house full of rocks too somewhere. Okay. And that's a good thing if you're obsessed about fossils like we are, but it's also presents some challenges too, what to do with all these fossil rocks. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So what we're going to do this evening is look at how Laurie and I approach the task of what do we do with all these fossil rocks. Okay. And fossil displaying is a subjective type endeavor. It's just how creative you want to be. Okay. So this is just how we do it. You have to adapt your fossil displays for you. And after we're finished, we have some fossil displays over here you can look at that I pulled out of our house. That's just some of them. That's not all of them by any means. So anyway, let's get started. Let's hope I hit the right button. Don't do something weird here. Okay. How many, if you're like me, a long time ago, back in the 90s, I'm sure most of you have seen this book, Jasper Burns' book. That's one first book we ever saw, Laurie and I, about fossil hunting sites and things in the Mid-Atlantic region. And, that's an older book. There's a lot of old books, and some sites aren't there anymore. Some are. But we've found some good fossils at some of Jasper Burns' sites. But one of the things I read in the preface, I don't know if you ever read the preface to that book, that inspired me back in the 90s, and Laurie too. I saw this quote. This is a quote from him where it says, "A fossil is first of all a thing of remarkable beauty that still holds something of the past within it." In other words, he's saying when you find a fossil, it's really a natural work of art. Okay. And that's what really hooked us in fossil hunting way back in the early 90s. And we wanted to, we like to display those works of art. Okay. I think it's my personal thing is, I know a lot of people don't have room in their houses and they have to have some kind of storage for their fossils. But to me, if you found a beautiful fossil and you went to all the trouble to get the fossil, dig it out of the rock, out of the matrix, or find it on the beach or wherever, it's kind of a crime to just stick it in a box and shove it under your bed. Okay. The fossil's crying out, according to Jasper Burns here, to be displayed. Okay. Because it's a thing of beauty. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Laurie and I, as I said, have been fossil hunting for a long, long time. We've been mostly out west and some other places fossil hunting. This is me in Kentucky. That's a Kentucky site we went to not too long ago. And then these two sites are in the White River Badlands that Laurie and I hunted for Oligocene fossils. Okay. We've been out there 3 times and found some really cool teeth and skulls and things like that. our friend went with us. He actually found in one of the other presentations I did a couple years ago, he's found two turtles, giant tortoises out there. So he's lucky that way. But so we've been there, we've been other places, like Penn Dixie up there, and we've been to Aurora, different places that we can get to. But a lot of the fossil hunting we do is right around here in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia. Okay, so here's what our house looks like. I said it was full of fossils. This is in our basement. You can see there's a lot of rocks there. Okay, this is just one set of displays coming down to the basement steps, and then here's another couple displays we have in our house. Here's some Eurypterids over here when we went up to Lang's Quarry in New York several years ago. And let's see. Oh yeah, that's better. Thank you. All right, that's good. Over here, these are the Oligocene fossils from the White River Badlands. I even found an Oreodont skull, the top jaw. Okay, which was nice. That was a nice find for me. And then a lot of other fern fossils over here. Now, from Pennsylvania. Let's see what else I got. Oh, whoops, I want to go back here for a moment. This is here's some more Eurypterids here, some other fossils, cephalopods that we found. These were found in Kentucky, okay, recently. That was a nice one there I found just in April. And then here's some other fossils on display just to show you that our house is definitely full of rocks. Now, a lot of people say, one of the things we like to say, not only is our house full of rocks, there's almost getting to the point now after 35 years, there's so many rocks in our house is almost made of rock anymore, okay? In fact, if you'd like to see the front door of our house, this is what our house actually looks like from the front. I was just kidding, you know, and that's our home sweet home. It's not, that's not totally true, but there's a lot of rocks in there, okay? We have to find room for. So at least it doesn't look like this one. Now I blotted out anything to protect the integrity of the person. I found this in a newspaper article. This was a fellow that obviously likes his rocks and likes his fossils. This is his living room. He does have a little path to the easy chair. And there's his TV, but as you can see, the rocks are taken over, the fossil rocks. Our house isn't like that yet, thank goodness. We try not to let it get that way. But this fossil collection, maybe, it depends what you like, you know, whether you think it's out of control or not. I'll let that up to you. So what we're going to do is talk about tonight what the challenge is. What do we do with all those fossil rocks that you've collected over years and years and years of collecting? Because I like to say, Laurie and I like to say, fossil collecting's fun, but half the fun is what you do with the rocks when you get them home, okay? With the fossils when you get them back and can play with them at home. So let's start with part one, step one, sorting your fossils. By the way, there's Marla. There's Marla right here. There she is. This was a West Virginia hunt we went on last fall. And there's Laurie. Of course, we do a lot. You know, I mean, some of you may do a lot of hunting down at Calvert Cliffs and things like that, beach hunting. We do that too, but we really like to go up to the mountains and split rocks with the rock hammer and see what we can find up there. This was actually a Devonian site here. So the first thing you notice, there's a big bucket right there. The first thing you have to do when you're out there fossil hunting, you have to do a preliminary sort. You know, you pick one. You can't take every fossil because some of them. You ever notice how some of the fossils break right across the middle of them in the matrix? So a lot of them are broken. You were looking for those trophy specimens to take home, the ones that are full and complete and everything. So you do a little pre-sorting while you're fossil hunting, and you put them in the bucket. Now, Laurie usually makes me come home with about 4 buckets full every time we go anywhere, right, Laurie? Okay. And so when we get them home, the first thing we do is we just put them on a big, in our laundry room here, put them on a big big long tables and just lay them all out there. That's the first thing we do. And then we have a 3-step process from there. This is how our sorting system goes. We generally look at the fossils, put them into 3 groups. Low quality discards, they go out by Laurie's pond. Okay, she has a big pile. You'll see that in a minute. Then the medium quality fossils, they go into some kind of storage drawers because they're nicer, but they're not the ones you really pop. But then you have the high quality display potential finds. Those are the ones we want to put in, make some kind of artistic display for. That's the way we look at our fossils. So let's start with the first part of the sorting system. Here's Laurie's pond. Now, she has all kinds of koi and fish in this pond and everything. But at the back of the pond, in our backyard, these are the fossils we've collected over the years. And you see the piles getting bigger and bigger back where the pump is. Now, we like to say at sometime 100,000 years from now, somebody's going to come back, dig these fossils up and wonder why there's a mishmash of all fossils from all different periods in this big pile right there in this one spot, because the pile's getting bigger and bigger, as you can tell. But anyway, that's where we put the fossils that don't make the cut, okay, as far as, after we look through them. So then we go to this. The medium quality fossils, we like to put in storage drawers. Now, you can do all kinds of things. Some people like Tupperware containers with the lids. That's fine. But what I like is these. I found these on an Amazon search. If you're interested, I just typed in a search metal desk file storage organizers. I got 2 of these. They're pretty nice because they're kind of sturdy, and you can put they're about this deep, so they're deep enough you could put some nice fossils in there, and they have a nice little place in the front for labeling. Okay. Now this one way over here is a little bigger. That was some kind of desk file I found in an antique store. Okay. But this is one way you could store some of those medium sized fossils, medium quality. And then I found this at Home Goods. Laurie loves Home Goods. She could spend all day in that store. But when I went in there, I was pleased to find, if you go back in the bathroom section back there where they have in a Home Goods store, they have these rolling carts. And I like them. They're great. See how deep they are? And they got metal ones, and they have these kind. I have both. And they're great for storing some of the bigger fossils in. And you can just kind of roll it out if you want to display, if you don't want to pull out you can pull each drawer out if you want to, but you can just roll the whole thing out and let people look, if you have people over, just look in each drawer for themselves. That's Home Goods sells those. Okay. And then let's see. We're up to step 2. Now let's say we've gotten to the point where you've gotten to the you've got your 3 piles. You got rid of your discards. You got your medium quality fossils. And now you got a pile of fossils out of your bucket that these look like they have potential to look nice and display better. So you got to this point, you have a continuum here where you could do several things. You can start basic. And I guess the basic thing you could do is just wash them off. That's about the basic, just wash them, get the dirt off the matrix and everything. That's the most basic prepping you could do. Or you can go all the way up to the professional grade, and this is more cost inclusive here. You can get air abrasion tools and things like that, and really get into it, prepping the fossils like the professionals do if you want. All right, now what I'm going to show you tonight is what I generally do. I'm right here where the star is on the continuum. I'm not basic, but I'm not professional either. Okay. I kind of try to keep it simple, and I'll show you how I do it here in a moment. But I have a friend who has gotten the air abrasion tools, has gotten the air scribes, and he got a air compressor at Harbor Freight up here, and he does some good work. He showed me some good work that he used if you want to go that way, but that costs a lot more money, okay, than what I'm about to show you. Now this over here is what I use. Is called a Dremel 290 tool. It's really called the Dremel engraver, okay? And there's two ways you can get that. In fact, there was a presentation Tom did just a little while ago. He talked about this, and he inspired me to go through this company. Watch, I'll show you. First of all, let's talk about the Dremel engraver. If you want to go basic to prepping your fossils, but it does a good job, the Dremel engraver, I just looked it up on Amazon the other day, and it's only $23. Okay. It has 5 speeds to adjust for different rock hardness. It comes with its own point, but I'm going to talk about a better way than the point they give you. I used that for a long time before I met Tom. Okay. But it's great for removing excess matrix from the fossils. It's excellent for improving the contrast between the fossil and the matrix, as I'm going to show you here in a moment. But this, I have the Dremel tool here when we're finished, and I have a workstation set up right back there in the corner. You're welcome. I brought some scrap pieces that I got from Deer Lake and 7 Stars. You know, if you would like to practice on a couple pieces, I brought the goggles too. You can set it and try to, you know, try it for yourself if you'd like to for a few minutes. But anyway, this thing's only $23. That's not very expensive. Okay, but it works great on rocks. Now, let me show you this. This is what Tom got me into, and this is that Zoic Paleotech. It's a UK company, and there's their website if you want it right up there, zoicpaleotech.com. They specialize in fossil preparation tools for both beginners and professionals. So I just went to their website the other day, and this was right on their website. They have the Dremel tool you can buy if you want to get it as part of a kit. Yes.
Well, I think it's UK and it's a wrong voltage.
Is it really?
I
I'm
think
not
it's
sure.
208 volt.
Okay,
unit,
well,
so buy your Dremel.
okay, buy the Dremel, yes, because they were selling this plus 3 little styluses. These are the 3 bits that you can order the bits separately. Get your bits from them. They were selling this for $59 American made money. But if you say if it's the wrong one, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a different one.
But so go get this from Amazon. You can have it in a couple days. It's a lot quicker anyway. It takes them about a week or 2 to send this to you. But they have these 3 3 tips. And these tips are much better than the one the Dremel tool comes with. Now, first of all, you can do a lot more detail work on your fossil, but they're also made of tungsten carbide, and they're really strong. And they cut the rock. They do a good job, don't they? Yeah. On some of the harder rocks, that's important. Okay, so you can order those tips. They sell them in a 3-pack. Do you remember what they were running just for the
I think including shipping, it was about $40.
$40? Okay, that's not too expensive. But and then they fit right into the Dremel tool. Okay, so that's something you might want to think about.
$34.
$34. Okay, there you go. He found out for us. Good job. So anyway, that's another way to go. Now, my buddy Gary, who is he went with the big air compressor and the air scribe. If you want to go more high tech and you got room in your basement to set up like a box, you know, for fossil prepping and everything, he set it up, and he got the air scribe that hooks up called the trilobite. They have one for beginners called the trilobite, and it's on the website there. And he demonstrated to me it was very good, especially on trilobites, you know, and other detail work, you know, for cleaning up the fossil. That's great for fine tuning stuff. And that's a lot more expensive, but that's if you want to go that way. Check out the website. You'll see all the different tools. They got all different kinds of tools you can use. Depends how expensive you want to go. Okay. Any question about that? So anyway, now this is what I do with the Dremel 290 with the special Zoic styluses. I use it 2 ways. One is to remove the overlying matrix. You see that white part over top that little fossil, scrap fossil? I have a little video clip so you can see. It's just short. You can see how it will take off some of that matrix. Watch. Now you got to work with it, and some rocks are harder than others, but you can see it chipping off some of that matrix.
without this damaging the fossil itself?
Well, you got to be careful. You don't want to put, and the nice thing about these tungsten carbide styluses, that you don't have to push very hard. They're very hard. You know, the other point, sometimes you had to bear down a little bit, the one the Dremel comes with.
It's amazing how much control you have once you use it a little bit.
Yes.
You really can fine tune
Yeah.
it.
And the Dremel, remember, has 5 speeds. So you got a really hard rock set at number 5. Dremel standards are more rotary, and I've seen people use them. You can use them, but the nice thing about this one, it's more of like it's an engraver. It's more like a jackhammer. So it's jackhammering off the fossil matrix, which is better for fossil work. Okay. You know, the other Dremel is more for woodworking or things like that,
Just engraved, just-
and engraving and stuff like that. But this is more like a jackhammer, so it's different. That's why you should get. I recommend this one over the rotor. I've had the other one too, but this one does much better for fossils as far as I'm concerned anyway. Okay. So here's the other way I like to use, and I discovered this through trial and error. Now that's an internal mold of a horn coral right there. And this is it. I like to use it to improve the contrast, because you notice this piece and this piece, they're kind of close to the same color. Okay. But if you want this part to stand out, I found out if you take the side of the Dremel tool and work around the matrix around the outside, you can really make the fossil stand out. If you take your time and do it. Let me show you. Watch this. This is what I'm talking about. Now, it takes a little while, but I generally go over that whole piece except for the fossil, outside the fossil. And then it just kind of makes it stand out better. Light against dark, you know. That's what the artists tell you, I guess, or tell us.
Just removing the paint.
Yes, yes, taking off that part that was worn and getting it rid of like fresh rock. Okay, rock matrix there. But you see, it looks a little better once you do that.
Is that the bit from the UK or is that the bit that came from-
That's the bit from the UK. Now the other one will do the same thing. It's just not as hard as and it's more of a blunt end than this one. You see how sharp that one is. That really both of them will do a good job. Depends, you know, you can practice, you just need practice. And I brought this Dremel tool in the back. You can practice doing this with several pieces if you want afterwards when we're done here. Okay. So let me show you some examples here, and I brought them with me for you all to see, and for those on Zoom to see as well. Here is a rock that I got up at Lang's Quarry up in New York, Laurie and I found. And we found this. These are eurypterids. You notice this is what the original matrix looked like. As far as contrast goes, I just went around the fossil. You see, it shows up a lot better. Okay. You can see they really stand out compared to down here. I wanted to show you, see the difference. Now, this took a little while. It took about an hour and a half of working on this, but I like how the results came out. You can see the actual eurypterid pieces that we found better than here.
You back up a step or so.
Yes.
And we'll pick you up.
Oh,
There you go.
is that showing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then I have another one that I did. This one here. This came from, I think you went on a trip there, the New Ringgold Quarry. Okay. This rock, this was dark too. This is a big Spinocertia brachiopod. Can they see that there? Okay, good. But notice, I just went around the matrix here. Look how it stands out now. Okay, just kind of laying it on its side and just kind of cleaning up around the edges on the outside. Don't touch the fossil, just touch around the outside of the fossil. in the matrix. Okay. And then I have one other, this one, Marla, you'll remember this one. This was when we went up to New Paris. There were a lot of brachiopods up there, and I found this rock. You can see it, it's full of leptina brachiopods. But when I found the rock, I said, man, there's like 20 or 30 leptina brachiopods on this rock, but you could barely see them. Between all the dust and dirt, I could see a little of the wrinkles. I call it the wrinkle brach, okay? And you could barely see it. So what I did when I got home, I took the Dremel tool and I just took, this took several hours, and I slowly went around each brach and just kind of, highlighted the matrix, lightened it up. And
Can you raise that up a little bit, please?
Makes a nice little slab. Okay. So there we go. So let's keep moving here. Then once I finished improving the contrast, what I like to do is I like to highlight the fossils with a little clear acrylic spray, but I don't use the spray. I spray the spray into the cap, and I use a brush. That way you can control it better. You don't want to, I used to just spray the whole rock. Well, that just darkens everything. So if you want it to stand out, I like to get the spray that they have up at the matte spray or satin spray. You could use that from Ace Hardware, has it. And I brush it on with a fine tip brush and take a little time. And it really shows off the fossils, especially how many of you have ever been up to Penn-Dixie? Anyway, some Penn-Dixie up in New York near Buffalo. You find these trilobites up there, and they have this light gray matrix. And I have some over here you'll see afterwards. And the trilobites are black against the light gray. And if you paint them with this little bit, just put a little bit of clear acrylic matte finish, it just makes them pop. They really pop. You'll see them over here in one of the drawers I have. Okay, so check that out. Okay. Here's one of Laurie's trilobites. By the way, she wanted me to show this one off. She just found this one in April up at Penn-Dixie. This is called a Bella Cartwrightia, a trilobite. It's very rare. Only 1 out of 100 are ever found up there at Penn-Dixie. It's usually the Dredgerops, a trilobite. But this one she found whole. We found pieces of them before. She found a whole one. You should have seen her jumping up and down in the quarry up there. I wish I had video of that. That was funny. Anyway, we painted this one. See how it stands out against the matrix? Just by that the details just jump out with its legs and everything. Okay. So it makes the contrast more striking. So that brings us up to step 3. Let's say you've prepped the fossil, you got your best prize specimens ready to go. But here's the good news. There's an endless variety of resources to choose from to show off your fossil work of art. All you got to do is, well, because we all have access to the internet. There's an endless, Amazon seems to have everything just about. And there's all kinds of resources. But Laurie and I like to do things the old school way. We like to go to a lot of antique stores. So I'm going to show you 2 ways. You can do all these things I'm about to show you online and get them fast delivered right to your home. Or you could do like we do, go shopping for several antique places in the area that have them as well. For instance, one of the simplest things you do is just get easels to put them. These plastic easels come in all different sizes. And we always stock up everywhere we find them in a variety of different sizes. It's better than putting them in a box. Okay. So under your bed, at least it gets a nice fossil. Some of the bigger ones sit up there really nice on an easel. The other ones then you have risers. There's 2 types of risers. There's these clear lucite ones. This type shown here. And then there's this. I found this at Walmart. This is actually in the kitchen section. It's a spice rack over in the kitchen section. The nice thing about it is the fossils sit nicely, small fossils there, but look, you can adjust the size. Okay. So to whatever space you have, okay? This thing cost, I just bought this the other day, it was 17 bucks, okay? $17 at Walmart. But it's sturdy enough, can show off some nice fossils.
That's a kitchen section.
And it's in the kitchen section, yep.
I've seen those at TJ Maxx.
Really? I'm sure they have them other places, yes. But that, I thought that made a cool looking display.
So that's one more room that you can display fossils.
Well, you could, yes. And of course, when you start running out of room, it gets a little smaller. Here we go. Okay. So one of the two places Laurie and I like to go, we like to go up into the Lancaster area, some of the Adamstown and Hanover area too for antiquing. We do that quite a bit. There's two stores I will reference several times here. Yesteryear Antiques in Hanover has all these things. They have a booth in there that has all these lucite displays and all kinds of display boxes and things. You can get shadow boxes. And Heritage Antiques up in Adamstown, if you happen to be up that way, or you can order these things, find them on the internet. Okay. So let's move on to this. As you'll see over here, Riker boxes, which are the white boxes with the black frame over there. I have several of them over there. They make nice displays, and they come in different thicknesses. So you can get fossils that are bigger if you get the right size, so that your fossil will fit into it. You can do that. I took this picture last week, 2 weeks ago, at Heritage Antiques up in Adamstown. You see, they got quite an assortment of different types of display boxes up there, if you get up to that place. And then there's this place that Laurie likes, the Reuse It shop in New Holland, Pennsylvania. They got all kinds of, how would you describe that store, Laurie? I mean, it's things that people bring back in.
It's like a Goodwill, but it's upscale.
Upscale Goodwill place, but they bring in like shadow boxes they don't want anymore, so they're really cheap. So we got this just recent. That's a nice little shadow box for display. Put a piece of felt in the back of that. You got a nice little display for your fossils at the Reuse It shop. And then of course, if you have things like shark's teeth, I got a few of these over here. The big, like your bigger teeth, or like Ecphora that you find along Calvert Cliffs. Those are these floating frames are great because they usually come in packs. They're really inexpensive. $10, you can get like 5 or 6 of them in a pack. And they have like you can see all sides, 3-dimensional. You can turn them around, see the whole thing if you want to see both sides of the fossil. It's not lying flat. Floating frames are nice. They have different kinds. Now, the other thing I saw at Walmart that I use a lot is this. I thought about putting our fossils in drawers and Tupperware containers, but the Tupperware containers have lids on. So I told you about that drawer system from Home Goods, but they also have at Walmart, they have these kitchen utensil trays in the kitchen section. And I got one of them over here where the trilobites are. They're nice because you got different kinds, and you can, like, say you want to show somebody your fossils, somebody's coming over to visit, just pull that out, pull the whole tray out. It's already prepared. You don't have to do anything. Okay. You've already put them in there. And they stack pretty easily too. They stack easily. So that's in the kitchen section as well at Walmart. These are only like $8 a piece, these wooden drawers. Okay. As of last week when I checked. So, all right. And then I like to get these little black stands and some of these little clear stands. They're like 50 cents a piece. Because I'm a former science teacher for Baltimore County. We have to label everything, scientists, that's what we do. Science teachers do that. So anyway, if you want to label where you found it, what you found and everything like that, and put it next to your easel display or shadow box display, these little card stands come in handy. You can order these online too, but I get mine at either Yesteryear Antiques or Heritage Antiques. They make nice little stands. Kind of help make your display pop. Okay. So to finish up our little talk here, I want to show you some of the for the Zoom folks. so they can see it too. These are a sampling of some of the shadow box table displays we made. You know, every time we go to an antique store, I'm on the lookout. I'm on the prowl. So is Laurie. Ooh, that's a unique looking shadow box. You find some really unique ones sometimes, round, oval, different things. You just got to be on the lookout for it, you know, when you're out there. This one's I found at an antique store. This was from Somerville, South Carolina. When we went down there, found these teeth. These are fern fossils from Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. This is from Calvert Cliffs, this shadow box display. And then this came from a site called Aquasco down in Maryland, not far from Calvert Cliffs. Okay. Yes.
What adhesive are you using to attach the teeth and shell?
I just use Gorilla Glue. I use Gorilla Glue, you know, the not the gel kind, but the kind, you know, it's the little tube. I get a couple tubes of that because it bonds in like 10 seconds. So you just put a drop on there and put it on there. It holds up really well for me. I have used hot glue guns in the past, but they're more bulky to work with. So Gorilla Glue works great.
Do you ever use the mounting putties? Gorilla makes some of that too.
I've never used that. Go ahead.
That's my weapon of choice.
Oh, you like that? Okay.
Because it'll pull away from the fossil.
Okay.
If you ever want to undo it, so.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Okay. All right.
There's a
Mounting putty.
Mounting putty, Gorilla mounting putty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that stuff's good. You can cut the pieces off of it, big or as small as you want. Yeah. Home Depot, Walmart.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. This is a display I made when we went the first time we went to Penn-Dixie. And what I did was, if you go to Michael's, what was that store that used to be, it went out of business? AC Moore. Remember AC Moore's? They used to have great. That's where I got these two little oval wood displays to kind of make. And I just glued these fossils from Penn-Dixie there. Made a nice display, and it's over here. You can see it up close. But Michael's has these things too. You can find those still. Okay. And then this was when Laurie and I went to Aurora the first time. You know, the big fossil pit they had outside the museum there, if you've ever been there, down in North Carolina, where you can sift for fossil teeth. We did pretty well about 3 or 4 hours, you know, and you know, I decided to make a fancier display in a big, thick Riker box about this thick. Okay, it's over here as well. And then I took out another little plaque type piece at AC Moore or Michael's. And one time we went down to Calvert Cliffs and we got into a lot of these giant Balinus, you know, barnacles. So I decided I just glued them down, made a display that way. Okay. And I wanted to show you this. Remember that reuse it shop I told you about? One of the nice things about that place is they got a whole section in that shop where they have these glass goblets, all different shapes and sizes, big ones, small ones, little ones, because they must know my wife has a problem. She has a sickness. She likes corals. Can't pass a coral up when she sees it, no matter how many we have in the house. So we got the idea. They got this giant goblet that stands this tall at the reuse it shop. And that's a good way to display. If you got a lot of something of the same thing, it makes a nice display for coral. We got several of those around the house. So they have all different shapes too. And then this one, this display I made out of I bought this online off Amazon. This is a bottle cap display case. And what I did was I got those little coin containers and I put them in. And when we went to Nebraska and I found all kinds of little teeth, I said, man, I got all the little teeth. I put them in there and I labeled them and I kind of coated them down here with a key. And they stay in place. They're really nice inside and they fit right inside the bottle cap slot, for that one. Okay. Let's see. So kind of, I wanted to sum it all up by saying this. Really, this is just how Laurie and I do it, how display our stuff. But in summary, the only boundaries to dressing up your fossils are your own personal creativity, how far you want to go with it, and how much time you wish to spend on the endeavor. So that's any questions? Yes.
I notice you don't label the fossils directly.
Now, some people do that. I don't. I just want to keep them in their natural state, and I just put tags next to them. Sometimes I'll tape a tag to a fossil. I'll do it that way, and so they don't get separated. But usually I use, my preference is the card stands next to each one, and I got a lot of those card stands. And I just do like a Word document, do it on the computer, and just type them up there. Okay.
Someone in the chat asked, for open shelves and table displays, do you have any tips for dealing with dust?
With dust, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Laurie has a duster. She makes me go and dust these all the time. But you'd be surprised. They don't get as dusty as you think unless you just leave them for a very long time. If you leave them for a while, they will get dusty, especially if you're in a basement like ours. Okay, down family room. That will work fine as long as you're not going to blow the fossils all over the place. If they're mounted, that'll work fine. That'll work great. Good idea. All right. Any other questions?
Chat wants to know Lori's secret for finding trilobites.
Yeah, she has the secret. She does better than me, especially at Penn-Dixie. I did not find one whole trilobite there. She found 4 up there up in April. What's your secret, Laurie?
I find a boulder and I just keep at it.
Yeah, she takes the chisel and put the boulder up on his edge and starts splitting it down into thinner layers. You'd be surprised what's hiding underneath some of those things. You think it's barren, but it has. I walked away from several and she found a trilobite behind me. I walked away. Yeah, she found that one. So that's her technique. So anybody else? Okay, well, like I said, we have some of our displays over here you can look at. And I also have some free fossils over there in that box. You feel free to take 1 or 2. And if you would like to try out the Dremel tool with that tungsten carbide stylus tip, it's all plugged in, ready to go. Just grab one of those spare specimens and just play with it a little bit, for a few minutes if you like. Okay, yes.
If you've got like a breaking pond or something fragile with a fossil exposed and the surface is kind of crumbly,
Yeah.
and you try to do the Dremel, to get some matrix off or something like that. Is there like a spray to harden before you do that? Like, would you put your acrylic on before
You could do that. If you're just trying to improve the contrast around the edge, first of all, in the Dremel, if you have one really fragile, I'd move it back to setting 1, which is it's not jackhammering that rock so much. It's more like a low buzz. You got to be very careful. I have ruined many a rock, getting a little over anxious, too quick. That's why I say, if you get the Dremel, practice it on a scrap piece first before you do it on the good ones. Okay.
Professionals and people do a lot of this stuff. There's a chemical called paraloid B72.
Yes.
It dissolves in acetone. The acetone evaporates very quickly, and it will really consolidate. You make it thin to consolidate, like a 5% weight, or 25, 30% for more like a glue. You want to do it real cheap. White glue, 50%.
Yes, I've used that before. Yeah.
It works.
Mhm.
That tooth over here, just bang it on it, and it holds things together.
Yes.
And it's reversible.
I've used that 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used that 50-50 glue thing method with matrix stuff down at Calvert Cliffs. Really works great. Say I got this big chunk, had all kinds of turritella and all kinds of clam, mycene clams in it. And I said, that's a nice chunk. But what happens when you get it home? It dries out, and that green sand starts crumbling away, and the whole thing falls apart. So what I do is, after it's sat a couple days and it's not quite so slimy and wet, I paint it with that 50-50 glue, white glue, one water thing. Let that I coat the whole thing with it and it just hardens it up. It's still hard to this day, and you got the big fossil chunk, in the matrix. It looks nice. That's another thing. I should have brought that tonight. I didn't think of it. Okay. Yes.
Another thing you can start looking for in all the antique shops is they sell golf ball displays.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they would want to display a golf ball personally, but I love minerals in one, so.
Those are good. Those make good displays. It's all your personal creativity, what you can do with it. I'm just saying this. Since it's a work of art, a fossil's a work of art, according to Burns, let's get it out there and show it off if you can. Okay. Don't put it in a box under your bed. That's a crime to me. Okay. Unless, of course, we only have so much room, don't we? Okay. So, any other questions?
We have another question in the chat.
Yes.
Shell fossils, do you recommend a light coat of Rust-Oleum spray?
Not for shells so much. This is what I found out with generally the shell fossils are white. Like you get those clams, at Matawaka down there, Calvert Cliffs. They're white and everything. I just generally clean them up and I leave them alone because I just wash them off. Because if you start putting things on like that acrylic spray, it turns them dark brown. Okay, you lose that white patina, which looks really nice. That's on the shell fossils. Now, on the ones in Pennsylvania, like brachiopods and West Virginia, the ones up in the mountains, I definitely paint those, just not the ones at the beach, okay? Because you still got original shell material on those mostly, on a lot of those.
And always bring a spare little piece home. If you're
Yeah.
finding something and you like it, you can find a little piece. You can then play with that little piece to find how you want to prepare.
This one here has been, I put the acrylic spray on this one. Okay, and it really pops against after I did the Dremel around the outside. Okay, but that's a brachiopod. That's a big one. I just wanted to stand out better than when I first found it. Okay, because some of them are brown on brown, just doesn't show up too well. Brown on gray, light gray looks better, in my opinion. Okay. So, anyway, anybody else?
Also, I've used the testers, like model airplane people. It's called dull coat,
Okay.
and it's
Oh.
doing airplanes and tanks and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's just, I guess it's probably somewhat, I haven't seen what that looks like, but it's.
The matte looks good. I think the matte looks more natural. I have used gloss.
Right.
Don't use gloss. I don't like the look of gloss. It makes it too shiny. Doesn't look natural, like it came right out of the rock. I like the satin is pretty good and the matte, but the gloss is just too shiny. It doesn't look natural to me.
Yeah, the dull coat does.
Dull coat would do that too. Yes.
That too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
It's available at any hobby shop. So.
Yes. But not a lot of places, like if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, what do you usually see? You see the glossy. So I'd stay away from the glossy for fossils for the most part.
Now, another thing that I've used for trilobites, especially, is I'll get some black watercolor paint and just do a real thin coat, real carefully.
Yes.
It's a stone set paint.
There you go.
No, not black, but it just darkens it a little bit. It's the same gradient as the shell would be.
Okay.
So you get a nice contrast.
That's nice.
Watercolor will give you versa.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's a good point. See, we got a bunch of artistes in here, okay? When it comes to fossils. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I hope this was valuable for you.